Most onboarding looks complete before the person actually onboarded. And that is the problem. In the last episode, I said I would go deeper into recruiting next, but I'm going to hold that for later because the first episode already used recruiting to explain the bigger idea, which was AI added workflows versus AI native workflows. So instead of repeating that, I want to move you to another place where the same problem shows up very clearly. Onboarding. Because onboarding has a different kind of failure. It often looks complete before the person is actually integrated. Because from company's side, everything looks organized. It's like offer has been signed, laptop is ready, access has been arranged. You send the welcome email, employees have been added to the system, and maybe the first meetings are probably in the calendar as well. So if you look at HR system, onboarding is moving. Sometimes it even says completed, but from the employee's side, the real onboarding is only not just beginning. Because now they are inside the work, and that is where the checklist starts to show its limits. The new person is not only trying to understand policies, systems, and documents, they are also trying to understand how work actually happens here, how decisions move, what the manager really expects, which relationships matter, what good work actually looks like here, what people can say openly, and what people only understand quietly. That is not paperwork, that is context. And without context, the new hire starts guessing. That is where onboarding quietly fails. Not because HR forgot a form or the checklist was badly built. The reason is the workflow was never designed for complete integration. I saw this gap clearly when I was involved in onboarding people myself. The official onboarding system did what it was supposed to do, and that matters. That part is important, but the real onboarding often happens outside the system. For example, when someone needed to understand who to speak to before moving something forward, or they had a question that felt too small to ask in a meeting. That is where I learned something important. A checklist can start onboarding, but it cannot carry the whole integration. People do not only need access, they need context, and often they need a human bridge into the work, how it really happens. So let's look at current onboarding flow in our organizations. In many organizations, onboarding still follows a familiar pattern. We know that the person accepts offer, HR collects documents, IT prepares access, orientation is scheduled, maybe a training is assigned as well. And that sounds familiar, yes? Because whether you're employer or employer, you know that. And all of that is useful. You need the basics. You need the admin. compliance part is required as well. But where is the problem? Problem starts when the organization treats those steps as the full onboarding experience. But they are not. They are the entry point. A new hire can complete every onboarding task and still not feel clear. Because the gap is between information and context. Information tells someone where things are. Context helps them understand how things work. Information says, for example, here is your role, but it needs context how success actually looks like in this team. And this difference matters because most new hires do not struggle because they miss document. Now here, don't think that missing document is okay. They actually struggle because they are trying to enter the system they have entered. Like they're figuring out what is safe to ask. They're trying to understand what quality means here. And if the organization doesn't explain those things intentionally, the new hire leads them to friction. That is why I think the job of onboarding is to reduce guessing. If someone has to guess too much, the system has not onboarded them properly. So what happens if we bring AI into the same onboarding version? It works like that. The documents become easier to find, and the common questions get answered faster. Even the reminders go automatically. That is helpful. Of course, I'm not here dismissing it, but if you look at it closely, most of this still improves the old workflow. What happens here? The admin becomes quieter, but the person may still be missing the context that helps them contribute. And that is the trap. The organization feels like onboarding improved because there is less friction in the process. But the new hire may still be learning the real work by guessing. Who knows? So the question is not only can AI make onboarding easier, it is what part of onboarding are we actually improving? If AI only improves completion, then onboarding may look better without becoming better. How? It becomes faster without becoming clearer. And that is how confusion gets automated. System becomes cleaner, but employee is unsure. Only admin looks more polished. And that's not enough because onboarding is not supposed to end with access. It is supposed to lead to contribution. So what would an AI native onboarding workflow look like? It would not start with checklist. It would start with the context a new joining person needs in order to contribute. Before the person joins, the workflow would already be thinking about the role they are entering, the manager they are going to work with, the team they are about to join, the first pieces of work they will touch when they arrive, and the places where they're likely to get stuck. What matters in the first few weeks the relationships that need attention early, what this person should not left to figure out alone. And that is a different workflow. The system is no longer only sending documents, it is helping to organize context. The new hire is not only receiving information, they are being guided into how the work actually happens. And in that kind of workflow, AI has a useful role. Not as the owner of onboarding, as supporting for the humans who still need to create clarity. It can help prepare the manager for better conversations, help them organize role-specific information. It can notice repeated questions as well, and you can see where new hires keep getting stuck. That's a big help here. And when you use that, you can connect it to the actual learning that is required. But here, don't forget the human part. That still matters. Because context is not just data. It includes trust, team history, manager expectations, and unspoken norms we have in our organizations, sensitive decisions. And belonging doesn't come from a chatbot. Trust doesn't come from an automated email. And a person doesn't feel as a part of a team because you send them right link. No, I'm not encouraging you to send the wrong link here. The point is, they feel connected when someone helps them understand what matters. So the design question is not how do we automate onboarding. It is what should the system make easier and what must humans still own? That question changes the workflow. It means HR cannot assume completion equals integration. It means the manager cannot disappear behind the platform. And organizations, they have to decide where human judgment matters. This will make onboarding a part of work design, not just employee administration. And this is where also culture becomes real quickly. Because culture is what an organization rewards, tolerates, and repeats. And new hire learns that fast. Not from your values slide, from the work. So onboarding is not just the beginning of employment. It actually is the first real experience of how the organization works. And this is why onboarding can even become more than integration. It can even become organizational sensing. Because new hires, they find confusion faster. They can, and that's a system signal for you. If several new hires keep asking the same question, that is not just a new hire issue. That is a workflow issue. A better onboarding workflow captures those signals. How? By showing where the work is unclear, for example, where managers need support, where our communications break, and where culture is being experienced differently than it is being described. We need to understand that it is much more valuable than a completed checklist. So the shift is simple. And it is not just from manual onboarding to automated onboarding. It is from checklist completion to context building. You need to move it from orientation to integration and from access to contribution. That is the real opportunity. Because onboarding is not complete when the tasks are complete. It is complete when the person who is joining your organization understands now how to contribute here. And AI makes onboarding faster, but the person still enters with confusion, then we did not improve the onboarding. We only made admin quieter. And quiet admin is not same as the clear work. This is where agentic AI workflow design matters. In the next episode, I want to move into performance. Because performance has a similar issue. Most organizations ask whether AI can write better reviews. But the deeper question is whether the workflow helps people perform better when the work is actually happening. For onboarding, today I would leave it here. Do not automate onboarding paperwork while leaving context, belonging, and contribution to chance.